Okay, the stack is heavy today. You also need to grab something to drink, coffee, wine, tea, beer, whatever. It's going to be a hot minute. Hi, readers. It's Lori, and today I'm going to share a very extensive summer reading pile of possibilities. And it is, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's get going. There's some loose ends here too. One of them is Welcome to Jubilee. This is such a pretty cover, and I know I picked it for my spring reads, but I haven't gotten to it yet. And I feel like this could just as easily be a summer read. So this woman is an author, romance author, and her marriage falls apart, and she is really struggling to find relevant content for her publisher. So she leaves and goes to Jubilee, Georgia to find her creativity again. And she's in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So what a great setting, regardless of whether this book is set in the spring, summer, or fall. I'll take it. I'd like to finish it. This is a book one in a series of books about Jubilee. Another loose end, but not for long. I've added The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain, whichever you prefer. I just talked about this and I was deciding whether to keep or unhaul this, and I decided to keep it. And I can't stop thinking about it ever since. A couple of you have commented on it, so I would love to get to this. And it looks like a summary cover to me. I'm telling you, and there's a reading guide, it looks like too, so even better. Loose end number three. I need to read this in the month of June specifically because this was my nonfiction pick that you chose for the second quarter of 2024. Judi Dench, Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent. It's a chunker too, so it would also count for Big Book Summer, I think. Let's see if it would. I didn't even think about that till just now. Not quite. No, not quite. But still, I have to get to it. So I wonder if she reads it. Oh gosh, that's now made me wonder if I want to read or listen to this. But I feel like if I read it, I will hear her voice narrating it. So I'll be good either way, right? This is not necessarily a loose end, but it is time for me to read In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune because Berna at Berna's Bookish Adventures and I are doing a buddy read of this book in the month of June, and I am so excited to get to this. I believe this is a bit of a loose retelling of the story about Pinocchio and Geppetto, but I'm not certain. I just know that I'm ready to press on to this. And then I will have read, I think, all of the ones that are backlist for him in this kind of vein. And then there's one coming out this year as well, which is September, I think, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. So I could get right to that and stay current with him. I have also considered reading his Wolf Song series because I've heard people talking about it on a podcast that might have been currently reading. Might have been Katie. I think it might have been Katie that was talking about Wolf Song, and she made it sound like something I would really enjoy. But we'll see. I'm on the fence about that. And again, I'm on a no buy, so I don't know how accessible that is. But this one, oh, I just love it. Okay. Now let's get to the ones that feel summary to me. And again, I can add or subtract from this pile because I'm in charge here, right? So this is a Maeve Binchy I've never read, and I've had it for a while. Maeve Binchy passed away not long ago. I got this as a used copy some time ago. Oh my goodness, this was published in 1988, which was the year my youngest child was born. So it's an older book. Firefly Summer is about Kate Ryan and her husband John, who have a pub in Mount Fern. They have twins and wonderful dreams. And that's all about to change because in the summer of 1962, American millionaire Patrick O'Neill comes to town with his irresistible charm and a pocket full of money. When love and hate vie for a town's quiet heart and old traditions begin to crumble away. Sorry, I feel like dust went down my throat. I've had this one a while. It was a summer of love that would never come again. A novel you'll never forget, it says. So this one is small in length. So while it is maybe over 400 pages. Oh yeah, it's well over 400 pages. 645 pages. It's short, it's small, just like my Forgotten Garden is. Those books are also short. So it won't take as long to read as it might seem like it would. I love this cover too. Like if that isn't summer, I don't know what is, right? Here's a perfect summer read for those of us who love baseball, and I can tell you this will be read during this summer. In fact, this might be read in the next week or so. I got this not long ago. It was an anticipated release for me. Several of you have read it and loved it. You can see why. This makes me happy. It's set in Chicago. They love baseball. They have a pub and something else. There were three things that the synopsis said. Politics. I think it's about their political bent too, and what's happening in the world. So I remember that the pub, the politics, and the Cubs. This is happening. She also wrote a book called Girls in White Dresses. I'm gonna think about that if I like this a lot, which I feel like I will based on the feedback I've gotten from you guys on this book. Let me put these up here because I'm running out of space here, and I'm gonna have to make a stack of these that's gonna be incredibly heavy. Just for the summer, Abby Jimenez. I have gone back and forth about whether or not I should start with Part of Your World, and I'm just going to start with this because it's summer. And look at this. I mean, really, this is a gorgeous cover. Whoever does her covers is really good at this. All right, 4 dates, a kiss, and a breakup. That's all it will take to find their soulmate. This is what they believe. So Justin and Emma both have this tricky curse, they think, on their love life. And that curse is that they date somebody, they fall in love, they think this is the one, and then they break up, and that person goes on to marry someone else and finds the one and leaves Justin and Emma alone. So they're going to try to fake date for the summer to see if they can then find the one after they fake date. And you probably can imagine predictably what might happen. But I don't care. I'm down for it. It's a summer read, and I haven't read well, I'm actually currently reading a romance, so that's not true, but I'm ready for it. It's a good time. This one I want to read this summer just because I really want to read this book. And a lot of people are talking about it. Yeah, I just want to do this. So this is sort of a futuristic Outlander kind of a situation where this guy from the 1800s, Commander Graham Gore, shows up in the time that this is set, and there's a woman who discovers him and then has to sort of support him as they try to discover what's happened to him and how he shifted through time. And I think there's a bit of romance in this too. And what better time to read romance than the summer, right? So this is a boy meets a girl, the past meets the future, a finger meets a trigger, the beginning meets the end. So it's very ominous in its little blurb, but no less enticing to me. These two, I'm not sure, are having anything to do with summer at all, but I have been eyeing them and wanting to finish them. It's kind of the summer of thrillers in some ways, but this is The Truth About the Devlins by Lisa Scottolini. I have a book by Lisa Scottolini to talk about in my what I read in the month of June, or sorry, May. So stay tuned for that. But I had gotten this one as well not long ago, and I think because of the way I felt about the one I just read, I would like to get to this one too. Sorry, my ring light is glaring in this cover. It's a very shiny cover. So this one is about a family who's had a member of the family who's a lawyer, and he's, I think, been in prison for something that he did as a lawyer. And then his brother, John, confesses that he murdered one of their clients. TJ, the other brother, has been an alcoholic and really kind of struggling, and now he has to step it up and support his brother, John. in getting out of this charge. So it says, a wayward son, a wealthy family, a murder that could destroy them all. Meet the Devlins. Are they a family or a conspiracy? I love that blurb. Lisa Scottolini is no slouch. These are all of the titles of the books she's read. Some of them are nonfiction. Will I read all of Lisa Scottolini's backlist? Probably not, but these two I think are a good start for me, and that other one I will talk to you about soon. And then this is kind of also born out of something I recently read, and this is A Game of Lies by Claire McIntosh. I got this one because I was reading The Last Party and I enjoyed it. And I saw Claire McIntosh in an interview with The Poisoned Pen, which is a bookseller in Arizona. And I really would like to visit the Poison Pen at some point when I go to visit my sister. But this one says they're playing to win, they have everything to lose. And this is one of my favorite tropes. It's a bit of a closed circle situation. They're stranded in the Welsh mountains. They're reality show contestants. They all have a secret, but they don't want to be sort of eliminated, because then I think their secret is told when they're eliminated. So then the whole public knows what they've done. So there's some high stakes here. And then one of the contestants disappears, and Fionn Morgan comes back in this book, and hopefully her counterpart does too, to see if she can find out what happened to this contestant. And ever since I got it, I have been wanting to pick it up. Nothing like the summer. I mean, it looks a little summery. You wouldn't, I mean, maybe you would burn a fire in the winter too, but I don't know. It could be summery. It might not be, but I don't care. Sometimes books about the winter, when you live in the extreme soul-sucking heat of the South, are really delightful. So I may continue to add some additional titles that are set in winter just to get me out of this space. Believe me when I say we were so hot the other night at the graduation that I had to fan us with the graduates card. It was just beastly. So here's what I did. Because I'm on this no buy challenge for the next 3 months, I have created a summer reading TBR on my app, my Libby app, for my summer TBR reading list. Now, this library that is my Libby library has a lot of great reads for me to take a look at in the summer. So this is what that list is going to look like. Again, pile of possibilities. I haven't borrowed any of these yet except for one. So the one that I have borrowed is The Last House on the Street by Diane Chamberlain, and that is a group read from Krista at Krista's Books and Jams, her Patreon group. We're reading that this summer, and I think we're reading it in maybe the middle of June, maybe closer to the actual beginning of summer, but I'm really excited about maybe getting two Diane Chamberlain lanes in this month. We'll see. Then also Becca at Becca's Books and Bujo has created a read for her book club for her Patreon, and that one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. And this one is it's a queer read, queer love story, and it's about a girl who's asked by her sister to photograph her wedding. Turns to her hometown. Her sister was not well loved by her family, except her dad, and by some of her sister's friends, and something ensues, you can imagine, that is going to change a bit of that. So there's that. A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams is available on ebook at my library, and I read 7 Days in June and really enjoyed it. So this is a modern day fairy tale. It says, a free-spirited florist and an enigmatic musician share a soulmate connection told through the history, art, and magic of Harlem. Sounds great to me. Then I have The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels by Janice Hallett. And this book is about a child who's missing and has been for years, and the case is unsolved, and something happens to bring that back forward and for people to revisit this, and it sounds great. I think it's an epistolary style, as most of hers have been, but I'm not sure. I might get to the Twyford Code this summer too, because that is a loose end for me with Janice Hallett as well. So I could kind of do a binge of her books. Nestlings by Nat Cassidy was recommended in a podcast that I watched or listened to the other day. And this one got a lot of awards for its horror content. And this is the only horror novel in my stack, I think. So this is The Creeping Paranoia of Rosemary's Baby and the Urban Horror of Salem's Lot, set in an exclusive New York residential building. It can't get any better than that for me, and this was a highly anticipated read for me as well. Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. This one was on the BookTube prize list. I don't know if it made it to the finalists or not because it wasn't assigned to me. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to what else made it. He actually wrote Mystic River, if you're familiar with that book, so that was one that I haven't read, but I think I watched the adaptation of that. So in 1974, summer, a heat wave blankets Boston, and Mary Pat Fennessy is trying to stay on one step ahead of the bill collectors, and she lives in a housing project, Irish American enclave that stubbornly adheres to old tradition and stands proudly apart. One night, her teenage daughter stays out late, doesn't come home. A young black man is found dead, struck by a subway train under mysterious circumstances. These two events seem unconnected, but apparently they are related somehow. And it sounds really good. And that was one of the ones that I voted for when I got to choose what I thought the BookTube prize should include. And so, again, I don't know if it does, but I have access to it for the summer. And because it's set in the summer, that sounds good to me. And then I have Table for Two by Amor Tolls. Wouldn't that be fun if I finished another Amor Tolls while I was reading in the summer with the big books that I've already chosen? That would only leave Rules of Civility for me to finish, which I could get to too, I'm sure. Anyway, these are short stories, most of which take place around the year 2000, and they consider the fateful consequences that can spring from brief encounters and the delicate mechanics of compromise that operate at the heart of modern marriages. Sounds really delicious to me. Funny Story by Emily Henry. Yes, you know, I don't always love Emily Henry's novels, but I can't seem to not read them. So this one is about a pair of opposites with the wrong thing in common. Daphne loved her fiance, and then something happens and he realizes he's not in love with her, he's in love with her best friend. And so then she begins to search for a new story in Waning Bay, Michigan. Yeah, so there's that. Another one of my most anticipated reads was The House on Biscayne Bay. You can see I've got some backlist books here that I'm bringing forward, but I'm also bringing forward a lot of newer releases. I understand. The House on Biscayne Bay was one that I really brought forward eagerly. Gothic mansion, two women intertwine as the past and present collide. So the Great War occurs, and Robert and his wife Anna live in this house on Biscayne Bay, but then something happens and it's no longer being kept up. But then Carmen Acosta journeys there too, and it looks like a great place, but then it isn't what she thought it would be. So there's that one. The Phoenix Crown, which is co-written by Kate Quinn and Janie Chang. I think this is a fairly short one, a thriller about two intertwined lives from San Francisco to Versailles, 1906, which of course Kate Quinn is known for her historical fiction. Two women, Gemma and Sullivan, are thrown into turmoil when an earthquake rips San Francisco apart. And there's another story too, a backstory brought forward. I don't want to know a whole lot about this. I just want to see if this is the right time for me to get to it. James by Percival Everett. You know, I've talked about James for a while. I would really like to read James this summer. Huck Finn definitely has a summery vibe, and it's a retelling of that story. And I've heard so many people bring it forward and say that they loved it. So that makes me so happy. I also hope that Percival Everett gets on the list now of authors to auto buy because I think he's fantastic. Having read Erasure, I just adored that book. And then the last one is The Lost Bookshop by Abby Woods. And this one is The Echo of Old Books meets The Lost Apothecary, a charming novel full of mystery and secret. Dublin. I've read so many books set in Ireland or with people who are Irish. A vanishing bookshop casts its spell. Three unsuspecting strangers will discover that their own stories are every bit as extraordinary as the ones found in the pages of their beloved books. So if I want to read a book about books, The Lost Bookshop might be the ticket. That is the end of my summer pile of possibilities. I told you it was going to be long. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, I know. Am I crazy? Yes. Do I also have a TBR cart right here that I could pull from? Absolutely. I didn't even really look at this cart. I don't know why, but nothing on this side of it stands out as a potential summer read. Maybe Julia's Chocolates by Kathy Lamb. I don't know. But I have so much ahead of me. And I think, to be quite honest with you, and I'll talk more about this in another video, but the book challenge so far, the no buy challenge, has been liberating because I just, as someone mentioned in a comment, I can just look through my shelves like it's a vast library of unread books and I can decide what it is that I want to prioritize. And I think I'm going to be unhauling some things as I really take a look at this carefully. So, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for your patience with this long list of possible pile of or possible books for me to read in the summer. Let me know what you're reading this summer, what your pile of possibilities is. Also, let me know if any of these stand out to you. I may prioritize them as a result. And as always, happy reading. Bye.